This was an act of terror.
A deadly attack in New York City.
Oh my God! I need an ambulance right here.
A driver in a rental truck plows onto a bicycle path in Lower Manhattan, mowing down riders and pedestrians.
This is a mass casualty situation here.
Oh, he's got a gun and everyone was running.
And I just saw a dude with the 2 guns, and then all of a sudden 4 shots went off.
A suspect is shot by the police and taken into custody. It's the deadliest terror attack in New York since 9/11.
We'll respond as we always do. We will be undeterred.
This is the CBS Evening News.
And this is our Western edition. Good evening, I'm Anthony Mason. Jeff Glor is in Lower Manhattan. At least 8 people were killed here in New York today, and more than a dozen injured in the deadliest act of terror in this city since 9/11. And it happened just blocks from the World Trade Center. The weapon this time was a truck. At midday on this Halloween, a truck driver ran down bikers and pedestrians on a cycling path. A New York City police officer shot the suspect, a 29-year-old man originally from Uzbekistan who pledged allegiance to ISIS. He is in the hospital. Jeff?
Anthony, thank you very much. We're in Lower Manhattan here at the corner of Chambers and West Broadway, a shaken but still very active Manhattan scene this evening. And as we continue to look into how all this played out and police continue their investigation, we start with DeMarco Morgan with what police heard and how they responded.
Be advised, we have multiple people on the ground from Chambers all the way up to Houston. All the way from Houston to Chambers. There's multiple people on the ground. We got multiple casualties. This is a mass casualty situation here. We need buses to Vestry and Chambers, Vestry and Chambers. We got at least 4 on the ground here, all 4 likely.
We have just the 1 person custody.
1 person custody. We have the white Home Depot truck on Chambers and West.
I have 1 in custody, no outstanding.
It was just after 3 p.m. when the horror began.
We got multiple casualties. This is a mass casualty situation here.
A rented truck from Home Depot drove 15 blocks down a bike path beside the West Side Highway, plowing through pedestrians. Then a rampage that police said was an intentional act. Along the way, the driver hit a school bus. A nearby high school was just getting out. The truck came to a rest at Chambers Street in Lower Manhattan.
There was one female that I saw near the body. She must have seen it actually happen because she just kept screaming, and it was...
Witnesses say the driver then got out of his truck with fake guns before being shot in the abdomen by police. Tahid Kabir was a witness.
Then I saw the guy with 2 guns. He's running in the middle of the street. So suddenly then I heard the gunshots. Then I just went down because I was scared.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
This was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea of what was about to hit them.
Schools were ordered locked down, and a beautiful Halloween afternoon gave way to scenes of chaos.
We seen a bunch of police and ambulance people like they were running.
Ruben Cabrera is a student at a nearby college.
In the bike lane, I saw 2 bodies covered with white sheets, another body on the floor with EMS trying to assist them, and what appeared to be a Home Depot pickup truck just crushed from running into a light post.
It all came to an end about a block from where we are standing. Jeff, New York police are now heavily armed to make sure the rest of the night goes without incident.
DeMarco, thank you very much. Jeff Pegues in our Washington bureau has been looking into the background of the suspect the entire afternoon. He has more details on that tonight. Jeff?
CBS News Jeff has confirmed from a federal law enforcement source that a note that referenced ISIS was found in or near the truck used in that attack. That vehicle has been traced to a Home Depot in Passaic County, New Jersey, which is right outside of New York City. Investigators have put up police tape around a white Toyota minivan with Florida license plates in the parking lot of the Home Depot. They believe the suspect drove the minivan to the Home Depot and then rented the pickup truck. The 29-year-old suspect is a 2010 immigrant from Uzbekistan who has addresses under his name in Tampa, Florida, and Patterson, New Jersey. He does not have an extensive criminal record that we can find indicating that he was capable of this type of violence, but what we are seeing are a number of traffic violations. At least 2 of them have led to arrest, including one in Missouri last October. Officials believe the 29-year-old suspect was acting alone when he drove that pickup truck onto that bike path. Federal intelligence officials will comb through their databases looking for leads on the suspect. They will also try to get their hands on some of his electronic devices and scrub them for information as well. Was there something that he was searching online? Was there someone he was communicating with in the days and hours leading up to this attack? On its face, it has the hallmarks of the type of attack that ISIS has called for and that cities everywhere, Jeff, have tried to guard against.
Jeff Pegues, thank you very much. More from Lower Manhattan in just a moment, but first back to Anthony Mason in our New York City studio.
Jeff, thanks. Fran Townsend was a Homeland Security advisor to President George W. Bush and is now our CBS News senior national security analyst. Fran, am I right? Is this the first successful truck attack we've seen here in the U.S.?
That's right. The only other successful one, if you will, was in Times Square when it was a drunk man who mowed down a bunch of people. I think authorities have been expecting this. You know, after the Nice attack on the promenade, NYPD authorities went out to 148 truck rental locations that they've kept in touch with, talked to try and identify these sorts of individuals that might do this before an attack. He has residences both in Tampa and New Jersey, and so they'll look at that. You can be sure they're trying to put together the legal basis to go search those places.
What are investigators doing right now?
Well, they're looking to see what was his motivation and how was he inspired. And so one of the things they'll look at, we know that this man, the truck driver, was from originally Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan has an Islamic extremist group, the IMU, the Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, and they were affiliated, but they were established in 1998. In 2015, they moved from an affiliate of al-Qaeda to ISIS. We know that both al-Qaeda and ISIS have talked and sort of pushed the idea of truck attacks, car attacks. And so the FBI and investigators are going to look to see whether or not he was motivated by the IMU or another extremist group. Did he have any contact with them? And that's why they'll be looking at computers and cell phones and that sort of thing to see if there's any affiliation there.
As you mentioned, and I know the New York Police Department has said this is essentially what they've been looking for a while.
That's right.
So, but it happened in a place that's extremely vulnerable and really almost can't be protected, correct?
That's right. I mean, look, we've gotten better over the years at protecting large pedestrian areas. You know, think about the area around the 9/11 memorial. Mm-hmm. We can protect a sort of discrete area. But the West Side Highway, which runs the entire length of Manhattan, and that bike path is, as you say, Anthony, near impossible to protect. And so people are vulnerable when they're there.
All right, Fran Townsend, thanks very much. Let's go back now to Jeff Glor in Lower Manhattan. Jeff?
Anthony, thank you very much. And remember, this truck went 20 city blocks, almost a full mile, which is why there were so many injuries. And Michelle Miller is at a hospital tonight taking care of some of those who were hurt. Michelle?
Jeff, I'm at Bellevue Hospital, less than 3 miles away from that crime scene. This is the closest level 1 trauma center to those attacks. 5 of the 13 injured were transported here by ambulance to receive emergency triage. We are told 2 were taken immediately into the operating room because of their injuries. We do not know the severity of their injuries or their current conditions. We also do not know if the suspect is among those who were transported here. Of course, the NYPD reporting that one of their officers shot the suspect in the abdomen, transported to a hospital. We do know that 6 victims died on the scene. The other 10 victims were transported to a hospital in Lower Manhattan, New York Presbyterian. 2 died on arrival. Now, this is just in. Several of those who died today are from foreign countries, according to Belgium's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister. 1 Belgian died, 2 others were injured. Argentine officials are reporting that 1 Argentine died today as well. Here at Bellevue, we're told that there is extra scrutiny here from police. There are IDs being checked to ensure that people are indeed who they say they are. Jeff.
Michelle Miller, thank you very much from Bellevue. The president's first comment on the attack in his hometown came on Twitter. Major Garrett is at the White House with more on this. Major?
Jeff, the president was briefed by his chief of staff, retired Marine General John Kelly, and later issued a statement that read in part, "My administration will provide its full support to the New York City Police Department, including through a joint investigation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We offer our thanks to the first responders who stopped the suspect and rendered immediate aid to the victims of this cowardly attack." Earlier, the president was one of the first and most prominent federal officials to draw a link between this attack and ISIS, tweeting, "We must not allow ISIS to return or enter our country after defeating them in the Middle East and elsewhere." Before that, the president called the attacker a, quote, "very sick and deranged person," adding in all caps, "not in the USA." The very first White House official to tweet on the New York attack was Ivanka Trump, saying simply, "Heartbreaking news coming out of New York City, praying for the victims." Jeff?
Anthony, thank you very much. More updates on this terror attack throughout the broadcast, and we go back now to Anthony Mason in Studio 57. Anthony?
Thanks, Jeff. The toll in the truck attack here in New York City today is at least 8 dead, more than a dozen injured. With me now is CBSN security analyst Paul Violas. Paul, John Miller, the deputy commissioner of the New York Police Department, said tonight truck attacks are the new normal. Is that right?
I think it's more than accurate, and it's actually a perfect way of putting it. Anthony, the best way to look at this is that we're in the embryonic stage of a holy war. We as Americans have a different culture. We look at things in a time frame, and we want things done. We're immediate. In this particular culture, the Islamic radicalists, their calendar is a lifetime calendar. So they're in the beginning stage of this. To say this is the new normal, I think it's a really accurate statement because it's the manner in which they plan on getting attention.
So what are investigators here in New York urgently doing right now?
They're taking the truck. Think, if we marker boarded this right now, think of the various elements associated with what's going on. They have a team that's already put the truck on a flatbed, and they've towed the truck, and they're looking at the truck, and they're handling the truck. They've been processing evidence at 2 layers of the crime scene, and now they've probably secured search warrants. They're going to get his computers and phone, cell records, identify who he spoke to, when he spoke to them, and start looking up those people because they've got to see if there was anyone else involved whatsoever. Then they're going to go and spend more time on the driver. Who is he? Where did he go? Where did he travel to? Which is going to be key. The federal agencies that will be involved in this are key.
You, beyond this attack being deliberate, you think it was actually calculated?
No question about that. I mean, when you think about this, Islamic radicalists, and from what I understand, and I know that this hasn't been verified, but I understand that he's made some mention, or there was some mention, whether it was in writing or made verbal mention, that some tie to ISIS. It would appear that he would be clearly tied to the methodology of an ISIS. But I'm not surprised with the way that this is turning out whatsoever. When you think of the planning that are involved, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's directly in front of a school. The school bus that's traveling that route travels that route every day.
It's on Halloween.
It's on Halloween. The streets are full.
In the shadow of the World Trade Center.
He's going to get the maximum input and maximum output just from that kind of this type of incident.
Paul Violas, thank you very much for being with us
pleasure,
tonight. And up next, Jeff Glor in Lower Manhattan with an update on the terror attack.
This portion of the CBS Evening News is sponsored by AstraZeneca. Visit us at AstraZenecaUS.com.
New York City is going ahead with the annual Halloween parade in downtown Manhattan tonight with extra security. The event, which often draws 2 million marchers and spectators, is being held just a mile from the scene of today's terror attack. Governor Andrew Cuomo urged New Yorkers today to not let this attack change the way they behave, to be New Yorkers and not let it change them. From what we've seen, it has not. New Yorkers have been out and about on this Halloween tonight. At least 8 people were killed, at least 11 injured when a man driving a rental truck plowed onto a bike path and then crashed into a school bus. Police shot and wounded the suspect, who had a paintball and pellet gun with him. He is identified as 29-year-old Saifullah Saipov, originally from Uzbekistan. This has been described by police as a lone wolf terror attack. We will have much more on all of this on our streaming network, CBSN, on your local news, and also I will see you tomorrow on CBS This Morning. That is the CBS Evening News with Anthony Mason, who is also in New York. I'm Jeff Glor. Thank you for watching. Good night.